going on, True Soldiers? It's LaGraphic here, aka King Truth and True Soldiers Education. And today we got a good one. We're going to be speaking on our sixth principle in our two-part class, second part, reaching your peak through a growth mindset. And that sixth principle is, we're going to go over a brief synopsis of three facets to the sixth principle, and that's oneself confidence. Knowing that you have the ability that you need to reach the peak that you set out to reach. Two, self-image, how you identify yourself, how you see yourself being at the peak moment in your life, as well as the day-by-day progressions that you need to reach that peak. And three, self-consciousness. Being self-conscious, worrying about what other people think about you. And you can measure who's going to choke at their peak performance when they need to be in their peak by their amount of self-consciousness that they possess. So with that, we'll jump right in to the first facet here, self-confidence. Confidere is the root word where confidence derives from. Confidere basically meaning extreme trust in oneself. And self-confidence, you can look at it as self-belief or self-efficacy. However you look at it is what you want to possess on your journey to reaching your peak. And self-confidence, you know you have the ability it takes to reach the peak at any given moment when you need to perform at your peak. Well, if you don't believe that you can do it and do what you set out to do, then you won't even put forth the effort or have the motivation that's required to continue on reaching your peak. As we speak on often, a good equation for motivation is motivation equals value times expectancy over impulsiveness times delay. You have to expect great things out of what you value, or you're going to be putting it off and procrastinating and being impulsive, delaying and jumping from thing to thing without getting a grasp, concrete understanding on what you're setting out to do. So that leads us into our next big idea in this three-part principle is self-image. How you identify with yourself, how you picture yourself being and what you aspire to be. Not necessarily faking it until you make it, but actually that inverted aspect of the idea, and that's making it so you don't have to fake it. Putting in the work that it takes and the effort required to reach what you aspire to be in your self-image. So for me, for instance, after I do my mental training and mental aerobics, I later do my physical training, and I have a set self-image of visualizing how many reps I want to do, how many miles I want to walk, the level that I need to increase my heart rate to the beats per minute in my cardiovascular in my cardio workouts. And then once you achieve what you set out and had the self-image to achieve, you want to affirm yourself through self-talk and say, that's like me. For instance, in my AM1 time block, I have it set out where I know what I'm gonna do in the morning, whether it be reading or writing. And then I transition into my classes as we're doing here, and I see how that seminar is gonna be. Sometimes I don't feel like doing it, but what's feeling got to do with achieving your purpose? I think back on the times that I mastered and nailed the class before, and plan and practice, prepare, and then visualize my performance. And then when I rock what it takes and stunt on them by doing what I need to do to achieve a worthy class, then I say that's like me. So that leads us into our final facet, or an element in this big idea: self-consciousness. Being conscious about yourself, worrying about how other people view you. When you're worried about how other people view you, you're wasting time being in other people's mind when you need to be in developing what it takes to be in your mind, what you need to do in your mind to achieve what you set out to achieve. You don't want to be worried about how other people see you. There's an idea out there that's basically, when you look into the mirror and you go past the mirror, don't so much be focused on what you see in the mirror, but actually admire the craftsmanship that went into the frame that supports that mirror, seeing the beauty in everything. So you don't want to be so self-conscious. Another footnote on this facet in our big idea, self-consciousness, is I wonder if the athletes that spend a lot of time taking selfies and worrying about other people's opinions and how they're portrayed to the public perform at the time when it matters most and you need to reach your peak, as well as the people that put in the time working and mastering their craft and their athletic ability and spending their time doing what it takes needed to perform at your best at the peak. It's just, an idea, but you can measure a person that chokes at their performance by looking at the value, the amount of their self-consciousness, how conscious they are about their self determines whether they're going to choke or not when it comes time to perform at your peak. And the last big idea on this facet is, as we speak on often, your identity, how you view yourself, drives your actions, and your feelings, how you feel about yourself at that given moment, derives from your actions. Too many of us do it on the optical end of the inverted end of the spectrum, and they worry about how they're feeling. Well, do I feel like doing this? I don't feel like doing this, so they don't put towards the actions that it takes to do what they need to do at that given moment, and therefore their feelings, how they feel about themselves, derives from those actions, which started with their identity, as we spoke on in the very first principle, plan, peak, and Planned Performance and Peak, I believe it was. But that's a quick look into our sixth principle and reaching your peak through a growth mindset. I hope that you're obtaining the self-consciousness you need, the self-confidence you need, having the proper self-image, and not being so worried and being self-conscious that you need to avoid throughout your day, and have a great journey on reaching your peak month to month, year by year, creating the optimum masterpiece lifetime. I salute you and have a good one. Until next time.